Charlie's Promise is a UK-based charity founded in memory of Charlie Cosser, a 17-year-old from Surrey who tragically lost his life due to knife crime in 2023. His dad, Martin, has made it his life mission to spread the word and tackle knife crime in the UK. In the Highlands, we're very lucky to see relatively little knife crime, but education on this issue has made it important for a community name. Here with me is Andrew Henderson to talk about his experience speaking to Martin.
I mean, I've learned a lot about knife crime. Martin is such a passionate advocate, and that comes across, chatting to him for 5-10 minutes. He throws stats at you that you'd never have known unless you're working in that industry. But really, it's his passion that comes across. I first met him a few months ago when he came up to do the North Coast 500 with a car with Charlie's face right emblazoned on the front of it. You couldn't really miss it if you walked past it. And he came into Inverness Caledonian Thistle Football Club while I was there doing other interviews and just as part of his tour, and got chatting to him a little bit. Then he came back up over the weekend to actually go to a Caley Thistle match, which we'll get onto in a wee bit. But speaking to him again, the work that he's done is phenomenal. He's talked to tens of thousands of school kids across the country about knife crime and about the dangers of it, what to look out for. And his love for Charlie is just what drives him and pushes him on to do all this. He's a really inspiring person, Martin, but he will say it's all Charlie's doing and that he's leaving a legacy even after his death, which is a kind of beautiful thing to see.
Nothing about my life is nice. I've been made to feel so welcome at this football club. I cannot tell you, from coming up here 3 months ago and doing the North Coast 500, from the minute I walked through that door, there was a smile on the face of the lady at reception. And I haven't looked back. They've been so kind. And I always say, and I do, honestly, this is Charlie. This is my love of Charlie that gives me the superpower to go out and do things. And if I didn't, and I love my children, all three of my children with every fibre of my body. My children are my world, and my wife's are absolute world. And that's why the pain and the darkness that we live in is so incredibly hard. But it's my love of Charlie and who he was as a person that drives me to really want to make change and influence positive change in this country, not just through education, but through legislation, through law changes. I'm a member of the Knife Crime Task Force and Coalition, so I'm in within the Home Office every 3 months, having meetings with a PM. I'm not saying that to names drop. What I'm trying to say is, I think it's been picked up how passionate I am that no family should have to walk a mile in our shoes, and no family should. No family should have to go home and live like we live. It's not right. A child should be able to go to a party and come home. A child should be able to go on a night out with friends and come home. A child should be able to go to school and come home. And knife crime is absolutely out of control, and more needs to be done. And Charlie's Promise will play a small part in that, but that is ultimately driven by the love of Charlie.
Not only did he go to Inverness Caley Thistle for the match, he also went to one of the schools to start an education. Tell us a little bit about that.
Like I say, he's talked to tens of thousands of school pupils around the country. Most of that work has been across England. He's gone to North Wales a little bit as well. And for the first time in the days leading up to the Caley Thistle match last weekend, he went to a school in Scotland, which was helped to be arranged by the football club. He went to Culloden Academy, spoke to, I think, the whole year of their S2s in a PSE lesson. And, we're about to hear from Martin, but the feedback he got was incredible. And the people who were moved by Charlie's story and now know who Charlie is, which is part of his goal with this, the messages that he was getting afterwards, the reception he got in the building at the time, it sounds like it was really beautiful to see. Admittedly not the most positive of circumstances, obviously, with Charlie's death, but Martin's really working to turn this into a positive and make sure that nobody else has to go through that same struggle and suffering. So, I think it meant a lot to him to be able to come up, finally take a school in Scotland off the list, and all the better that it came into place around Inverness, where he already has that sort of connection now through the football club.
It was really good. There was a queue of kids at the end in tears and looking for hugs. And that happens. It's emotional. It needs to be. It needs to be a moment in time they'll never forget. And I think fortunate isn't the right word, but I get hundreds of messages a week from parents, teachers, but most importantly, young people about the impact of a talk. And that was no different yesterday. I've heard from well over 100 children. I've had parents email me, donate already to the charity, things like that. So clearly my talk and Charlie's legacy is to save lives. It's making a difference. Schools are very reactive. So if there's been a knife-related incident, they'll have someone like me in. We're a preventative charity. Let's wisen up. Knife crime's up 84% in the last 10 years in the United Kingdom and growing almost 5% year on year. Let's prepare our children. Let's not wait for something to happen. And that's really sad, but it does happen.
So Charlie was a keen footballer. He was part of Brentford SC Academy as well. The whole football presence probably really helped Martin in a way.
Yeah, it meant a lot to him. I know I've already said that, but it was one of the things that he really bonded with Charlie over when he was alive, was their love of the sport and being able to go and watch Charlie play in an academy like that at that sort of level. He must have been really talented. So to then have that legacy honoured in a football environment, and there's an advertising board at the side of the Saracens PSG stadium pitch bearing the Charlie's Promise logo and Charlie's face, and being able to tie all of this in together, it really is a full circle moment for Martin and the whole family.
It's always emotional walked out to see the banner and seeing Charlie's face, but he's getting around everywhere, my little boy. And one of the things I promised him before we switched off his life support machine, as much as, I'd spend my life educating kids about the dangers of knife crime, was that everyone would know who he is. And my God, there's a lot of people who know who he is. And that's really good. Although he wouldn't have liked it because he was very private. I mean, long term, my vision for the charity is to open hubs. I think kids, well, I know kids, I mean, I've spoken to over 40,000 in the last 11 months, want somewhere to go, someone to talk to and something to do. I think the evolution of technology in this digital world we live in, everyone makes the assumption that kids want to be online and doing all that. They don't actually. They're doing it because that's all they know. We need to start, investing time and money in our young people and giving them some purpose. I think that's really, really important.
Obviously, we wanted to keep in touch with Martin. I think it is really important that he came to a game, and it was actually when I spoke to our new owner and chairman, and Savage, that we told him about it. Straight away, he said, let's get an advertising board up for Martin portraying Charlie. And obviously, what Charlie's Promise is all about. And I think from our point of view, from a club, we are in a very important and I guess privileged position where we can help the education of Charlie's Promise to our community. I feel as a commercial director here at the club that it's really important that, as I said, we do a lot for charities within the football club here, but if we can help educate our younger fan base out there about the dangers of carrying a knife. And I think one of the stats that was quite shocking that Martin told me was 65% of knife carriers end up being stabbed. And quite a high proportion that is stabbed with the own weapon that they was carrying. Now, these people were carrying knives probably to protect themselves, but not realising that this is how it can end up. In their mind, they didn't go out to stab anyone, they was carrying protection. But once you carry a knife, you are putting yourself in such great harm. And again, through the football club, through our fan base, that message is that we are trying to educate people and protect our fans and their families and the wider community about knife crime. Knife crime's risen 85% in the UK in the last 10 years, which is a huge, huge leap. So again, it's our importance to get out there and say, this is what it's all about. If you hear or know of anyone that's carrying a knife, then reach out to Fearless and report them that it's absolutely okay to do that. You could possibly end up saving lives. And that's what Charlie, in his legacy, is doing, saving lives across the whole of the UK. We're just so privileged that Martin came and stopped at the club because we would be here now discussing this. And I think it was a topic that needs to be discussed more.
Andrew Benjamin was very welcome to speak on this podcast. Worked in charities before, so kind of understands the need for something like this in the community. He seemed really passionate when he was talking to us.
Yeah, I think that comes across from Martin as well. As I say, when Martin visited the club earlier in the year as part of his North Coast 500 campaign, Andrew Benjamin was, I think, the first face that he saw at the club. And that quite quickly spread to some of the players listening to the story at Tell and manager Scott Kelleher as well. Ever since then, the club, and I think in particular Andrew Benjamin, has kept in touch with Martin and what the charity's been doing, which led to this visit at the end of last week. And it's really turned Caley Thistle as a whole into really big advocates for this, for the message that Charlie's Promise wants to send out, tackling knife crime in general. And you know what? It's great to see a football club like that taking that sort of stance on something that can affect absolutely anybody and trying to make a positive difference in that sort of area.
I'd never ever in my life seen Martin present these talks. So I just reached out to, I think it was a few of the secondary schools, and Club and Academy came straight back and said, yes, we'd like you to ask Martin to come along. And then Martin asked me to go along as well. And I must say, as I said, working in the charity sector and seeing some really kind of challenging and upsetting situations, to be in that room for an hour was probably one of the hardest things I've ever seen. But I guess that's why people are going to remember it. Because I think if it was all kind of nicely and softly, people will go away not remembering it. I go back to a story when I was younger, growing up, and it's obviously about drugs and whatnot. And obviously it stopped me and my friends taking drugs, so that charity did what it's meant to do. And hopefully the kids that were in the assembly in that day can obviously now take that message away to think it's absolutely not okay to be carrying on. Everything that we're doing here as a football club is, say, helping and trying to support the community. And part of what we've been doing is handing out free match day tickets to schools and active schools. The reason we do this is not only are these bands our next generation, but it's, again, helping and supporting people that can't afford football. So, again, there's that ethos that we have to do stuff.
Obviously, Martin coming up, helping out with facilitating that talk. It's all part of a wider strategy within the community since, well, the last few months, really. There's been a real push for that, like I said.
We should be giving free tickets to schools and the active schools of football clubs, because there shouldn't be a financial barrier in the way to stop children from watching football. Now, obviously, as a club, it is vital that we make money. We're a business, and obviously we can never go back to the situation that we faced ourselves over the last kind of year or so, entering administration and being, millimetres away from liquidation. So it is important that fans are getting behind us and buying season tickets and supporting the club where they can, buying kits. But what we can do on the other side of it is help the younger generation by giving free tickets to them. But not only just to the children, we give them to the families as well. I think, again, it's just another hurdle, isn't it? In a way that if parents can't afford to come, then the children won't come. And it's also a nice thing to do that a family can come and spend one Saturday together and watch the community football club. And that's what we are. No matter the size we are now, we are still a community football club. And hopefully, after what we have done and what Martin's done over the last kind of few months, especially the weekend just gone, then that message is loud and clear now. And hopefully people will go away and think, actually, we're never ever going to do that.
You've been listening to Beyond the Briefing, the stories behind the headlines, diving deeper into the biggest local stories in the Highlands. This podcast is brought to you by Highland News and Media. It's hosted by Shannon Marvell and produced by Christopher Dixon. If you enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe and share with others who care about local journalism.